the signs that had the debate, discussion, whatever you call it, Supervisor Kate Sears here a little while ago. There are some important things that are coming up right now. We wanted to kind of reconnect with the group here because we hadn't really been very communicative about what's happened since then. So we're going to do a quick update of some of those things and talk about the really critically important Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday and the impending housing element and vote and some of those pieces. So first, just a couple of things about what this group is doing. So you know that there's action going on in the background. We started about a month ago. We're doing a lot of, I think our first meeting was actually the 15th of August, so it's like literally just been almost exactly a month since this particular group started working together. We're doing a lot of setting up, figuring out what each of us is able to do, and we're connecting with the other groups throughout Marin, including the awesome Stephen Nestle, who's actually up from Marinwood and videotapes all these things. So thank you, Stephen.
And the video will be out on savemarinwood.org and your organization later tonight.
Terrific. I've already had people asking about if they'll be able to see it. We're also incorporating and getting set up kind of for the long haul here to make sure that there's an organization that keeps moving and keeps doing things. We've hosted some additional meetings, as I think many of you might recall. Supervisor Sears was saying what she would want before removing us from a PDA was a lot more conversation, so we're trying to have that conversation. We haven't seen any actual actions about that yet, but I'll talk about the PDA in just a second. We spend most of our time investigating this very dangerous housing element, that'll be voted on. We're going to need your help for that. Stacy Simonton will come up and talk a little bit more about that in a minute. This group already delayed that vote for a week. We already had an impact. Our very own legal Stacy, who's becoming a star of the county in this space, found that notice issue, and so, but we couldn't have done it without everybody here also supporting that and signing a petition. So that was great. And that week gave us a lot of time to do some extra research on the California Environmental Quality Act and a variety of other things that Stacy will talk about also. That's hopefully will buy us more time and keep pushing that vote out and keep that from happening. First, to follow up on the PDA. With this meeting, other meetings, the petition, nothing's actually had an effect on Supervisor Sears' position on the PDA. We've uncovered some connections with the Transit Authority of Marin, and so there's some transportation money that is flowing around that we think is important to her. We're continuing to gather signatures on the petition, and I think it's there's been conversation. We've obviously seen it about a recall. On Tuesday, Supervisor Adams from District 1, I think, her recall time is up. There was a notice filed for that. She's expected, I think, to sail through it easily. I don't think there's any question that it's going to be fine for her. And I think that's one of the cautions why we're not aggressively pursuing a recall. Our thinking is, let's get as many signatures on a petition that is very clean and stripped down and doesn't have a lot of argument. It just says, you can take us out and you won't. And if we can get 2,000 people to sign that signature, sign that petition, that will be a powerful voting bloc in a district where 7,000 people will probably be able to vote her out of office. So that's going to be super critical. We need to continue to push on that petition. That's probably the single most important thing on the PDA. So next, the agenda for today is Stacy will talk about specifics about the housing element and what you can do to help. Julie will talk about our growing volunteer program, but it just always needs more people. So please help with that. And Mark Lieberman will talk about things that you can do coming out of this meeting, really direct actions. We're getting to the point where really specific actions are meaningful and are important, and we need everybody to do it and tell their neighbors to do it. So on that note, I will turn it over to Stacy with her binder of legalese, and let her take away.
All right, thankfully we only have about 5 minutes each, so I will try and keep it short and condensed. One of the things I really wanted to articulate, because there's a lot of news and people commenting on various sites is that what the county's voting on Tuesday has nothing to do with the number of units of affordable housing that the county is required to zone for or develop each period. It has nothing to do with the numbers. What it has to do with is how those affordable housing units are built. Because right now there are inclusionary development standards where affordable housing has to be integrated in the community. It has to be consistent with the community character. And like right here in Strawberry, we have hundreds of subsidized Section 8 and affordable housing units that are here. People assume we don't because it's not obvious because they're not stack and pack along the freeway, which is what you can see in other areas where it is obvious. So I wanted to be clear because I think there's an assumption that people in our group or in the Marinwood groups or the Tam Almonte groups are against affordable housing. It has nothing to do with, again, the numbers. What will change if the county votes to approve these amendments on Tuesday is though any new affordable housing it'll be required that it's high density of 30 units minimum per acre, and it'll be required that it's along freeways and transit routes. That's the big change. And what that changes is these communities, these kind of select communities that have transit lines or that are in these unincorporated areas are going to have a lot more housing units zoned that are tax exempt that have to be high density and clustered. So what's happening in addition to the housing element, which is where the housing, I don't know how many people are familiar with what the housing element is. It's where the county is required to kind of show that this is the unincorporated part of the county, that they can zone, that there's appropriate zoning for the number of affordable housing units and housing units at all income levels. They apparently submitted one a couple years ago for this planning period, which is almost over, to the state Housing and Community Development Agency, and it was rejected, not because we didn't have enough housing units on it, but because the state wants high density. And that's a big theme that's coming, I think, from Washington and Sacramento about this high density development. So that's why we are here now and why these projects are all the zoning is happening and trying to change. What we're concerned with is in Strawberry, there are 363 tax-exempt affordable housing units that are being approved through an environmental impact report that the county's voting on. It's called, they use a supplemental EIR, environmental impact report, which claims that it's evaluated all of the environmental impacts, and that includes to public services, to the environment, to housing, to traffic, to that whole laundry list of CEQA. They're claiming that they've actually fully evaluated this. They haven't. They haven't done anything to evaluate what would happen to the public services here, the school system, the fact that this is a peninsula, we're on this delicate coastal environment, we have protected woodlands, we have a number of species. I don't know if you read through the letter that we've submitted to the county opposing it, but they just haven't done it. They did a very cursory analysis by saying that in 2005, when they did an environmental impact report on the county for this a countywide plan, that they can just look back and say because the entire county is forecasted to grow by 5,000 housing units from the period of 2005 to 2030, that it's obviously already been addressed because these are just new housing units. They don't look at the micro communities, the districts that are impacted, the actual community that has the infrastructure that's going to be stressed and strained by new people, whether it's tax exempt or not. Strawberry has always been, at least in recent correspondence with the county when they've looked at projects, they've said, Strawberry Peninsula is pretty developed. It's got some open space that are protected in other treaties, but our Strawberry Community Plan has already kind of provided for the build out that this community and the infrastructure can sustain. There might be other projects. I'm not saying the seminary's got some project that they're going to do. In my opinion, it's not about what the seminary is trying to do. It's about these much broader zoning changes that are going to happen. Another thing that is on that this environmental impact report apparently addresses too is that there are other changes to the countywide plan, other than the housing element, and also to the county development code, which say that affordable housing, again, which now, if this passes, will have to be at these minimum high density standards, are consistent with zoning anywhere. this is agricultural land, this is residential, this is mixed use, this is commercial. So the entire Strawberry Village, and there are a number of sites that are again approved in the environmental impact report, that are all going to be now zoned for affordable housing with minimum density requirements. And so I look at this area, Darling Strawberry Village, and it's a commercial area. There are 4, I think, housing units right now in that area, but the entire area is a floodplain. And it's like, in fact, the other side of the freeway is marsh. And on the other side behind there is all marsh. And there are issues when it comes to the sea level rise and just general flooding that we experience, the arterial roadways that would be taxed, in addition to things that I really am concerned about, which are if there are so many new people potentially that the county is saying will be, that could be zoned here and could live here, where are they going to go to public school? Because Mill Valley school system, we are already at physical capacity. This isn't just about dollars, this is about units, because the middle school there have been issues that have already been coming up. The Mill Valley school system in 2005 had 2,200 students, and this is from K to 8th grade, and 7 years later, we have 3,200 students. It's got one of the fastest growing districts in the entire state of California. It's a 40% growth in 7 years, and we're basically a district much like some of the area in Marinwood, the Dixie School District, which has been very concerned about what's going to happen because new students, there's no new funding for new students. And the Mill Valley superintendent recently said that the level of service is going to be actually inversely correlated to the level of growth. So the more that our district is growing, unless there's more money coming in from parents or from tax dollars or property tax dollars, the services are going to drop, and there's also going to be a need for the construction of new schools. So there are also, and I'm not an expert in the environmental areas, but I learned a lot in doing this research about all the many species of wildlife and fish and all that are in Strawberry Peninsula, the protected. We have the Richardson Bay and the Audubon, and there have been so many efforts from people in the last few decades to protect. There are eel beds, there are, all kinds of things that we are responsible, that we as this community have taken on responsibility for protecting in the coastal environment in Richardson Bay. There are state agencies that have also, designated this as, protected area. And one of the things that you have to consider is, when you add so much more human activity and all the things that go along with it, along those coastal areas, it's obviously going to impact the environment, the natural environment a lot more. So what we've done is we basically have submitted a missive to the county that is set forth all the legal reasons why what they did, this environmental impact report, is legally deficient. You are not allowed to do a supplemental EIR that looks at just a couple things to a countywide plan when you're making amendments like this to zoning and to the housing element. You have to do a new environmental impact report that actually evaluates things, because we need to see, number one, where this is going, and we need to know what the cost is to us, to the citizens, all the residents who live here now, and to the environment. And what's more, their requirement is also to try and mitigate these impacts with whatever they are. We can certainly project some of these, and I'm sure there are many more that we don't know about or haven't thought of because we're not experts at CEQA or the various things, but these are all things that the county is required to evaluate before they do something, because once if on Tuesday or some subsequent week after they approve this environmental impact report, or it's a SEIR, the Supplemental Environmental Impact Report, it'll be too late to do much of anything with if any of those types of projects are sought to be developed. And so there might be some review, it'll be cursory, because the county will say, or the county or the developer will say, you already did an environmental report that talked about this site, that talked about this density, and it's already been approved, and the time for challenging it is over, and developers will be allowed to do this. And so we tried to make a proposal to the county to say, we know you're concerned about a housing element. Can you go back to HCD and say, look, we have a lot of units here that the seminary is doing something that's going to have, some impact on affordable housing. There are, a number of affordable housing units that haven't been counted yet because they didn't, it's not in what the numbers are now. But go back to HCD and say, listen, we're doing this, and this doesn't have to be high density. We don't have to overhaul how we build and how we do things in Marin County, just to prove to you that things will be built. Things are built. We have a lot of things now, especially in Strawberry already. So we're hoping that people can show up. If you're interested in kind of making a stand, it's going to be a very well-attended meeting at the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday. Areas from other groups throughout the county, from Marinwood, Lucas Valley, Tamalmonte, Corte Madera, Novato, cities who are also impacted by these same issues are going to be there to oppose all the things that the county is trying to do. I mean, there has to be a better way to satisfy and balance communities without doing, mandating high-density freeway projects. So that's what we're looking at legally, and we have a copy of the letter that I prepared that if anyone wants to sign it, you're welcome to, or if you want to submit your own comments before the hearing to the county, you're welcome to do it. There are a number of comments that are on record from other groups, and we're trying to get the voice of Strawberry here to say, listen, we're concerned about our community, and we do support affordable housing. It's not theoretical, it's here. It's in broad numbers. We have a lot of multifamily housing, and we just want to kind of keep control and keep the community sustainable as it has been. So that's where we're on that.
We're going to have a brief question and answer session when we get through this. We really appreciate everybody's patience. My name is Julie Brown, and first of all, I want to repeat what Rob said, which is to thank you for being here. The fact that you are continuing to show up and continuing to stay engaged means that we are doing our job and engaging you on the issues and trying to be respectful of your time and also keep you informed and get you to action. And really, that's why I'm here. Despite the fact that we are only 1 month old, we do need to start moving from listening and talking to acting. And our job is going to remain to inform you, but it's also going to be to start moving you in a strategic way so that our actions as a group start to speak to what we believe in, to the positions that we're putting forth. So we really want to encourage everyone here that if you have reached out to volunteer, that you be persistent. We are putting things into place, and if you feel like you put your name out and haven't heard from somebody, we'd like you to put it out again. I am the de facto head of volunteering, so you can grab me after this meeting. And I want to just give you an example of some volunteers that are already doing probably what needs to be done, which is they're taking individual responsibility for seeing something that needs to be done and doing it. Josh Anderson, who's sitting in the back with his 2 young children, organized a petition for all people who were within 300 feet of the seminary, which was the legal notification issue that Stacy identified early on. And the fact that he worked with us to get everybody's signature, and then that was submitted along with Stacy's notice, it put the Board of Supervisors in retreat. So we got a 1-week reprieve. And again, it has to do with us presenting the strategy, volunteers helping us make it happen, and then us getting results. So I also want to point out a couple other people. Marjorie Siegel in the front has deep interest in the environment. She's single-handedly done some research. She's enlisted some help from ornithologists to help document the bird life in the Strawberry Peninsula, and contributed some beautiful photography for our website. These are really, they sound like small things, but they're things that meant something to her and moved her to action. And we are deeply grateful for that. Doreen Gluckin was very curious about the recall, wanted to know, should we be leveraging this recall? She went down to the county, she did the research. We now know that should we determine that Kate Sears needs to be recalled, we know what the targets are, we know what the legal requirements are, and we can move on that. So those are 3 people who are in this audience tonight who don't have lots of spare time on their hand, who have jobs, who have things that they need to do, but said, I'm going to do something. So I'd like to encourage each of you to try to come up with something that you can do. And if you can't come up with something by yourself, we've got an idea. We're going to introduce a program called Street Captains. And to date, what we've been doing is we've been having groups of people petitioning. We had a petition outside of some of the local schools, Strawberry Point, and the McGuire. We had a Safeway push one day, which was fairly successful. And what we're finding is we really feel like we need everyone in Strawberry to be united and to act together. Most everybody that you meet, you talk to them, they agree with you, but they don't really know what to do beyond that. So we need for individual people within our community to step up and lead with us. There's about 12 of us here, and we're doing everything we can, but we have small kids, jobs, houses, just like everybody else. And if you take us and you add 22 more Marjorie Siegels and Josh Andersons and Dorian Glickens, we're going to be a real force. And that's what we're here to ask you tonight. So the Street Captain idea is a concept that Mark Lieberman put forth, and the idea is that not everybody is plugged in via the internet, not everybody is paying attention to what's going on, and some people are just overwhelmed and don't really understand what the issue is. So we're asking for people to step up, to reach out to people in your neighborhood. Ideally, we'd like for people to say, I'm going to take this block. I'm going to take Ricardo Road from Seminary to Meta, and I'm going to work both sides of this road. I'm going to ring doorbells. I'm going to make sure that people understand what's going on, and I'm going to answer some questions, or I'm going to point them to the website. I'm going to get a signature. If they don't have email, I'll get their hand signature and submit it for the petition. If you feel like, I just couldn't possibly do that, but I have 6 neighbors who I really like, and I love them, and I'll go ring their doorbells, 6 neighbors is better than no neighbors. So we really want you guys to feel empowered to do what you can, but to try to push yourself on behalf of everybody that you know, because we are a community that ranges from young children who need to be protected to seniors who need to be protected, and we can't be protected unless we're involved. At the end of this meeting, I will have a map. If you feel so inclined and you want to sign up tonight, get on the bandwagon, you can come find me. And we'll talk about what you're capable of doing, what you're interested in doing. So I think that's pretty much it. Beyond the meeting on Tuesday, we also want to encourage everybody, if you're going to the Board of Supervisors meeting, you can reach out to your neighbors. If you have an elderly neighbor who's not driving anymore, offer them a ride. If you have a neighbor who really wants to go, but you've got kids and they've got kids, babysit. Do what you can do. Stacey and I do it. So anyway, we really want to thank you again for coming, and encourage you to continue to reach out and think about how you can help us, because we really, really, really need you. Thanks.
Hi. So we've either got a bunch of people who are not 49ers fans here, or a bunch of guys who are just itching to get out of here and go press play again, right? I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here because we got about 5 minutes left. We want to stick to our goal of maybe having this be only a 30-minute meeting. I know that there were some questions in the back, and we're going to stay here and are happy to answer your questions afterward. But my goal is to tell you what you can do. I know Julie did a great job of mentioning being a volunteer and helping us. We need help. We need people. There's only 12 of us. There's a lot of people in Strawberry that we have yet to reach. So if you can help be a volunteer, that's great. If you look, there's signs on all the tables here. If you have the chance to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting, it is Tuesday at 1:30. Bring a sign. If you want and can get there and speak, stand up, and they'll give you 2 minutes, and take your whole 2 minutes. If you don't know exactly what to say, we have cards. Each of the cards is different. Pick out something that interests you and stand up, and let's be annoying, right? It's at the Civic Center, yep, at the Board of Supervisors room in the Civic Center. So take a card. If you don't know what to say, if you've got things you want to say yourself, that's fine. We just have some cards to help you out there, so do that. Our website is on the back of all the red signs. It's strawberryca.org. On that website, you can sign up with your email address. If you don't know me, I handle the next door postings as well as the outreach via email. So those emails that some of you may be receiving from strawberryca94941@gmail.com, that is coming from me. Please give us your email address. Go onto our website, give us your email address. The more number of people we have that we can reach, the better we'll be with our outreach, as well as for getting bigger, more numbers for our petitions. That's what's most important here. If you can't make that Board of Supervisors meeting, either sign Stacy's letter, which we have a copy, I think, over here, at the back. We have a copy in the back. Sign her letter, or even better, write your own letter. And make them read your letter, make them respond to your letter. Make them do the job that they're supposed to be doing, because they're obviously not doing it. So either write a letter, go to the Board of Supervisors meeting, sign up, become a neighborhood volunteer. I mean, that's kind of the pinnacle of helping us, right? Is becoming a neighborhood volunteer and being somebody that helps in your local neighborhood, your local area. What's that? Do everything. Yeah, absolutely. I like you on there. Wonderful, do everything. And if you can't do any of the other things, or you can only do one or two of the other things, donating is also a great way to help us. And there's ways to donate on our website if you go to the website, or you can send an email to strawberrydonate@gmail.com. That's strawberrydonate@gmail.com. Send us an email and say, I want to donate. We'll contact you and help you do that. We are self-funding a lot of the stuff we're doing right now. Signs, Kinko's is not cheap. So we also need help with that. And as we get more and more into this, getting legal representation is a huge item, and that's going to cost us a lot of money. So there's a lot that we need to do. Sign up at our website, go to the Board of Supervisors meeting, write a letter, send a letter to the Board of Supervisors, be a neighborhood volunteer. Let's make these guys do the job that they're supposed to do and protect this thing that we have here that's so wonderful and dear to all of us. We're going to stay, like I said, and answer any questions you have. I really appreciate everybody that took the time here to come and learn a little bit more about this, and hopefully we can be invigorated here and get some more action out of everyone. So thank you very much for coming.